Disputes have now intensified between Nepal and India after the Himalayan nation released a new political map of the country by including all the encroached territories by the southern neighbor. The scenario has now mounted pressure on India, which was previously seen reluctant to discuss the border issues with Nepal. Good morning, I'm Abhyuday Shrestha, and these are the headlines of the hour. COVID-19 claims the third life in Nepal as a 41-year-old man from Gulmi dies due to the virus. Number of COVID-19 cases in the country climbs to 457 with 23 new cases yesterday. Over 2,500 Nepalese homebound every day since 15th of May from various Indian cities. Not even basic health checkups conducted on people returning home. India continued to impose hegemony rather than trying to resolve the outstanding border disputes with Nepal, fails to accept historical evidences given by Nepal supporting its claim. And pro-democracy activists say they fear the end of Hong Kong after China announced plans for a new security law. Opponents fear it will be used to remove basic freedoms. India has started taking the help of what can be termed baseless evidences to hit back at Nepal's newly released political and administrative map. Even as Nepal has been emphasizing on bilateral negotiations to resolve any border disputes between the two countries, India has unilaterally started criticizing Nepal's move. The scenario is likely to aggravate relations between the two countries in the coming days. We have a report.
The Indian Ministry of External Affairs has alleged Nepal of unilaterally including Indian territory in the new map released by Nepal. India has also stated that Nepal's move is against the spirit of diplomatic negotiations to resolve any disputes between the two nations. Stating that Nepal's new map is an artificial enlargement, India has said that the map was not acceptable to them. The press release issued by the Indian Foreign Ministry also states that Nepalese leadership will create a positive atmosphere for diplomatic dialogue to resolve the outstanding border disputes between the two countries. However, when we take a look back at even recent history, it is evident that India has bridged the process of diplomatic dialogues on a number of occasions. It may be recalled that in 2015, when India and China agreed to use Nepal's Lippo Lake as a business transit, Nepal had issued a diplomatic note seeking clarification from both India and China. It was only China who responded at that time, while India had ignored Nepal's call for clarification. Likewise, in November 2019 too, Nepal had proposed a diplomatic initiation when India released a political map by encroaching 400 square kilometers of Nepalese land in the Lippo Lake and Kalapani region. India not only ignored Nepal's calls for dialogues but went on to construct and inaugurate a roadway via Lippo Lake to Mansarovar in Tibet region. India continued to sideline Nepal's call for Foreign Secretariat-level talks to resolve the issue. And now that Nepal has released the new political map by including territories up to Limpiathura, India has stepped up aggression towards Nepal. It has been noticeable that India, for over 4 decades, has been trying to give validity to its encroachment of Nepalese territories and making excuses to avoid diplomatic initiatives. Despite the formation of the Eminent Persons Group that was initiated by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself to address outstanding border issues, the Indian side ironically has refused to receive the report prepared by the EPG. Despite the encroachment of its own land, Nepal has always demonstrated restraint and floated diplomatic calls as a means to resolve the border dispute. However, the southern neighbor has repeatedly dominated Nepal, calling Nepal's move at the behest of China or enforcing blockade at the time when the nation was reeling in the aftermath of 2015 April earthquake, and now inaugurating a road link using Nepalese land at Lippo Lake during the times of COVID-19 pandemic. According to the experts on Nepal-India relations, the Indian hegemony is destined to invite troubled days ahead as far as the relations between the two countries are concerned.
A third individual succumbed to COVID-19 in Nepal as a 41-year-old man from Madene, Gulmi, lost his life yesterday. The Social Development Ministry of Province 5 confirmed that the 41-year-old man died of novel coronavirus while being treated at the ICU of Crimson Hospital in Manigram of Rupandehi district. The deceased, a principal at a school in Gulmi, was admitted to the hospital on 15th of May after his condition reportedly deteriorated. His COVID-19 case was confirmed the next day on 16th of May. The total number of coronavirus cases in Nepal has climbed to 457 as 23 more individuals tested positive for the virus yesterday. 18 of the infected are from Jhapa district alone. The infected tally in Jhapa has now climbed to 35 with 33 cases in Kachan Kawal rural municipality. Only 95 tests using the PCR method have been conducted in Jhapa, out of which 35 have turned out positive. All the infected are males within the age group of 18 to 46 years. They had all arrived in Nepal from India after the Indian government allowed the operation of buses and rail services for daily wage workers and migrant workers to return to their homes. 800 more people who have arrived in Jhapa from various Indian cities are still awaiting tests through the PCR method. Around 3,000 Nepalese nationals are making their way back home through various transits along the Nepal-India border. After India relaxed the lockdown, allowing buses and train services to operate, it paved way for many Nepalese nationals working in different Indian cities to return home. However, there are no proper quarantine facilities, while basic healthcare precautions have not been observed. Over 2,800 Nepalese returned home from various transit points along the Nepal-India border yesterday alone. Those returning to Nepal were from Jhapa's Pani Tanki, Mohottari's border region, Jamuna Transit in Nepalganj, Rupandehi's Belhia, Kapilbastu's Krishnanagar and Kunua, Kailali's Gauni Fata, and Kanchanpur's Gadda Chowki and Dodhara Chandni transits, among other transit points. Over 2,500 Nepalese have been returning home on a daily basis since 15th of May. Even as the Nepalese who were staying at quarantine centers located in the no man's land along the Nepal-India border, not even routine health checkups have been performed on them. All of these people are then allowed to mix up with others at the quarantines at the Nepalese side of the border. This has given way to a sense of fear and chaos among the local residents who have many of their relatives staying at the quarantine centers. However, the Home Ministry insists that a circular had been issued to allow homebound Nepalese to stay in quarantine only after thorough medical checkups. Meanwhile, there are still hundreds of Nepalese nationals who are staying in the quarantine centers at the no man's land, public buildings, and even under makeshift tents at the other side of the border and waiting for their turn to return home. These Nepalese are facing significant problems of food, proper shelter, and health facilities. These Nepalese are also subjected to physical abuse in India, while their safety concerns are growing all the time. The pressure is likely to build up more at the border transits in the coming days, but the government of Nepal, from the local to the central level, lack clear plans to deal with this crisis situation. Welcome back. With the extension of the nationwide lockdown in the country, chaos has been witnessed regarding the academic curriculum. Even as many private schools have been running online classes of the new session, the academic activities at community schools have come to a grinding halt. There is no certainty about the opening of schools amid the coronavirus pandemic, while the government also lacks clear-cut plans of how schools should operate even after the lockdown ends. We have a report.
There are some 44 community schools in Lalitpur metropolis. An estimated 20,000 students are presently staying at home due to the extended lockdown. Some private schools are trying to keep their students engaged to some extent, making use of online classes. On the contrary, there are no such academic activities on behalf of the community schools, neither any concern shown from local levels to extend technical support to run such classes.
सामुदायिक विद्यालयहरुमा चाहिँ हामीले अहिलेको सन्दर्भमा कुरा गर्दाखेरि कसरी पढाइलाई चाहिँ पठन पाठनलाई कसरी सुचारू गर्ने भन्ने विषयमा खासै हामीले चाहिँ थम्ब्याउन सकिरहेको छैन। के गर्दाखेरि उचित होला भन्ने किसिमको कुरामा चाहिँ हामी अहिले हुन त छलफल गरिरहेका छौँ, निर्गुणमा चाहिँ पुग्न सकिरहेका छैनौँ।
Meanwhile, opinions have also divided over the operation of online classes by the private schools in terms of its effectiveness and practical aspects. Pokhara Metropolis and some other local levels have not allowed the operation of online classes due to the non-availability of internet service with all the students and inability of parents to afford data services. School-level education fall under the local levels, but they don't have any plans regarding how the academic session should proceed this year amid the pandemic. Neither has the Education Ministry furnished any plans regarding this year's academic session. There are around 34,000 schools, including 28,000 community schools across the country, with an estimated 7 million students, while the number is 5.5 million in community schools. Only around 13% students in community schools have access to internet services.
Business entrepreneurs are found to increase the prices of daily essentials on their own, citing that the supply has been badly affected. The businesses are saying that their stock is running out, even as the government has been maintaining that there is enough stock of the daily essential items to last for at least 5 months. We have a report.
According to the Ministry of Industries, Commerce and Supplies, the private sector has a stock of over 100,000 metric tons of rice, while the government has 18.5 thousand metric tons of rice. Likewise, the country has around 100,000 metric tons of paddies. Meanwhile, the government also has 16,000 metric tons of pulses, 65,000 metric tons of sugar, 139,000 metric tons of salt, among other daily essentials. In the meantime, the government has said that the imports of these daily goods have also not been affected. 2,100 metric tons of rice and 50 metric tons of pulses were imported on 18th of May. The process is also underway to bring in 84,000 metric tons of edible oil. After the lockdown was imposed on 24th of March, some 236,000 metric tons of edibles, including rice, pulses, and oil, have been imported. The government has claimed that the country presently has a stock lasting for the next 5 months. Despite the government assurance, the businesses have started to make the consumers feel about the scarcity of daily essentials. There is also a blame game witnessed between the wholesalers and retailers, while the consumers have found themselves at the receiving end. The market prices of the edibles have increased by up to 15% in the retail market. Amid the crisis, there is a strong call on the government to increase market monitoring.
Welcome back. It's time now for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
And here's the question. What's your take on lack of preparations from the government to run schools' academic sessions? Your options are A, priority on controlling the pandemic, B, ignoring education, and C, slack mechanism. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B, or C, and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. And that's all for the moment. Keep watching Kantipur Television HD for more news and entertainment. Thank you for watching. Have a good day and stay safe.